Hey Sean, how's it going?
All right, we're just getting started here.
Sounds good.
Okay, we're live. Well, good morning, everyone. Welcome to the meeting of Smith Falls Police Services Board for January 6, 2026. A local meeting with our land acknowledgement. On January 6, 2026, we acknowledge that the sacred land which Smith Falls is now located has been a site of human activity for over 10,000 years and is rich in Indigenous history. It stands in the ancestral and ancient territory of the Algonquin Anishinaabe Nation. We're grateful to the Algonquin ancestors who cared for the land and water in order we might need it today. We're also grateful to the Algonquin people for their contribution in the making of the Rideau Canal, which runs through Smith Falls. We are mindful of broken covenants and the need to reconcile with all our relations. Together, may we care for this land and each other, drawing on the strength of our mutual history of nation building through peace and friendship, being mindful of generations to come. As this is the first meeting of a new year, we will be holding board elections shortly for chair and vice chair. In the meantime, I have no further remarks myself other than Happy New Year and thank you to the service for the great work in 2025. We've some new officers here today. We're looking forward to welcome you into our service and looking forward to a great 2026. At that, Chief, I'll have you give you an opportunity to make any comments yourself and welcome our new members.
I have Officer Cameron Beasley. Come on up, guys. Constable Robert McDowell and Constable Robert Crawford. So Cam is from this area. He used to work for CP Rail. He has children and a wife.
I know most of them. Yeah.
The three of them did really well at police college. They were the first to go through Cornwall Police College at Cornwall for the Ontario Police College that was held at Dev. And all three of them had very high marks, and their teachers were very impressed with their professionalism and their help. They were one of the highest raising for charity to do with Cornwall. Do one of you wanted to explain what the charity was?
Yeah, it was Beyond 21, Squirrel Charity for disabled youth because they're not able to stay in high school past 21, so it's a program for them young adults with disabilities to be able to stay in a program and help them.
We were able to raise I think it was around $22,000 between 135 of us. So.
Oh, that's great. Good for you guys.
So Cam Beasley here was also part of the 2014 Sochi and 2016 Rio de Janeiro Olympic Games when he was on the podium in support of Olympic and Paralympic athletes. So hopefully his time here, he'll work with our Special Olympic athletes. Constable Robert Crawford is a graduate of St. Lawrence College Police Foundation. He's originally from Charlotte Lake, exciting to begin his career here in Smith Falls. Prior to joining our service, he worked as a special constable in Gananoque and gained valuable experiences working with individuals with dual diagnosis in a group home, as well as worked at an addiction treatment center in Kingston. And outside of work, he enjoys staying active by playing sports. So that's Constable Robert Crawford. Constable Robert McDowell is raised in Scotland. He relocated to Canada 2 years ago and brings valuable international policing experience in his role. Prior to joining the Smith Falls Police Service, he served as a police officer in Belfast, Ireland for just over a year. Before his policing career, Robert worked as an operations manager for a family-owned business where he developed strong leadership and organizational skills. He also enjoys staying active at the gym and going for walks with his dog.
That's
so
great.
Welcome to our community. Thanks. We're very proud of
Welcome,
the
guys.
work.
Gentlemen, good to have you on board. Any further comments, Chief? No?
No.
Okay. Any additions to the agenda? I think we have the agenda as it is. Okay, so at this point, I turn the meeting over to the Chief to host board elections for chair and vice chair.
Okay, so we're opening board elections. Do the vice chair first?
I think we do chair first.
Chair first. We have any nominations for chair?
You'll nominate Chris Smear.
Any other nominations? You accept your nomination?
I do, yeah.
Okay, we'll close that. Board Chair Chris Samir. Vice Chair nominations.
Sean Panko, sorry, I'll do it properly.
Any other nominations for Vice Chair? Is Chris McGuire included in this? or
Oh, sorry.
Chris,
Yeah.
he's here. I can hear
Are
us.
you nominating anybody or?
I don't know.
Can you hear, Chris?
Yeah, I can hear the horseshoe, but not Jody as well.
Okay, she's just asking any further nominations.
Yeah,
Yeah.
nothing from me.
Okay, nothing from Chris.
Do you accept your role for Vice Chair?
Sure.
Can we just get a vote on that, on vice chair?
Everyone can vote on
the
Vice
motion
Chair.
That Chris Samir be nominated as chair and Sean Panko be nominated as vice chair. If I could have a mover and seconder. Moved by Andrew Howard, seconded by Rob Dobson. Carried.
Okay, thank you. Motion's closed.
The chair, it's all yours.
Do you want to, you could, how about you finish this part of it?
Okay, I'll get
Is that
some-
all right?
I'll get some-
Yeah, okay. Then I'll jump in.
Okay, so the board election's complete. Mrs. Chair, myself, and Vice Chair, for the balance of the term, or balance of 2026. As for declaration of interest, I see none. So a number of in-camera items. I'll need a motion. Dismiss all speakers of this board moving camera to discuss items pertaining to intimate financial or personal matters, or matters or other matters may be disclosed of such a nature having regard to circumstances that the desirability of avoiding the disclosure of the interest of any person affected, or the public interest outweighs the desirability of adhering to the principles that proceedings be open to the public in accordance with Section 44 of the Community Safety and Policing Act. Motion moved in camera. Moved by Andrew, second by Chris. All in favor? Okay, we're gonna be in camera. We're probably gonna be in camera for, I suspect, an hour or so.
You guys can. Okay, as the newly elected chair, I'm going to actually turn the rest I wasn't quite prepared for this today, so I'm going to turn the rest of the meeting over to Vice Chair Mayor Panko to resume.
Okay, thank you. So we're back from our in-camera session where we discussed a number of items as identified in the agenda. I also want to speak to correspondence. And we do have a piece of correspondence that was received in late November, just prior to our last meeting, but not in time to be received in that meeting due to the agenda preparation. Essentially, it was an email that was received from Kelly Denham requesting the Police Services Board in reaction to an incident regarding police conduct in June. The investigation was Chief declared conflict of interest, was turned over to Cornwall Police Service for investigation. The investigation was concluded. No finding of fault was made, and the board had received all the information regarding that investigation. And this email is called upon for an independent review and implementation of higher standards of care, mandate of an independent non-police legal review, administrative reassignment pending review outcome. And from the board's perspective, we had followed our responsibilities as it comes to overseeing the chief's responsibilities regarding the investigation. We complied with the act. We confirmed with the ministry we complied with the act. And at this stage, there is no need for us to follow the requests within the email that's been forwarded to us. Essentially, our responsibility is to the act, which we have completed those responsibilities. And from our perspective, the board's perspective, unless there's any further comments, the matter is closed. Anything further from any board member? And if not, then we'll move forward with our agenda. Okay. So we have our minutes from a previous meeting of November 18th. We'll need a motion for approval of those minutes. Everyone had a chance to review them. Moved by Andrew, seconded by...
Wasn't here.
Okay, so Chris, all in favor? And sorry, while I mentioned to Member McGuire was here. He was away. He was on the phone for the first part of our meeting. He's had to step away. So be support of us for the balance of the meeting. Business arising from the previous meeting, the 2025 budget monitor, Chief.
Actually, so I just got the December one from the town director of finance this morning. So you all have a copy of that. We're still under budget by almost 500,000 for 2025 budget. The only things for us that are above budget, as I've notified the board ongoing, has been our maintenance issue, property repairs, vehicle repairs, as well as the part-time budget and the overtime budget. So, but we're still under budget overall for 2026.
Do we expect any changes to that then?
No. We always have end of year things that are coming in, but there's nothing big from that. There was one MVC that I believe is on my new business that I can address that had to do with vehicle repairs. But other than that, there's knock on wood, nothing major, just the complex maintenance that we were having issues with, the plumbing and with the generator and the HVAC system. But all those invoices were paid for so this budget line was done.
Is it safe to say that we're going to be, our actual budget's going to be 6.1 million instead of 6.558?
It's safe to say there's a couple of invoices still coming in from 2025, but it's there's nothing that's
I've added $38,000 extra on top of the, what we would, that's very, very impressive.
So, and Chief, if you can speak to some of the things that happened throughout the year that resulted in the surplus. So when the year started, the budget forecast of what was needed to fund the service for the year.
correct.
And then...
So during the year too, we're also still going to see a surplus. So the last meeting, I mentioned the victim support grant, for example, that just came through. I don't even know if it's public yet, so I'm really apprehensive. I haven't seen, but it's been now a few weeks. But that victim support grant and the community safety and policing grant, those are going to offset some of our costs. So for training, for courses, for officer salaries. So a lot of that's going to come through still. So one that just came through is going back from April 2025 to March of this year. So we're going to put some of that funding back to.
That'll go into the 2025 budget?
Yes. Yeah. So that has not been even recognized yet in the 2025 budget. So we still will have salary recovery. So even from prior to when I did the budget in 2024, you always do your budget, but you don't anticipate what grants you're going to be successful with. So that helps when we are successful with grants, offset some of the costs of salaries. Then, of course, we have the contract negotiations that happen with the no more, no less clause in the contract. So we have more salary recovery that comes back into your budget. Then, of course, when you're looking at some of the things I can't predict, complex maintenance, vehicle repairs, but we sort of go with what we see the year before. And sometimes we're over and sometimes we're under. Computers, for example, phones, we went to Rogers and made sure that we had the best deal for emergency services. So it's really low cost for cell phones, for data. So a lot of things I was able to look at to lessen some of the costs that we used to have. Get rid of laptop leases and buy laptops, part of grant funding. And so then you're not having those lease payments and you're not dealing with annual increases. And then, of course, for 2026, we ensured that we put some increases in there, cost of living increases or increases that we might see during the year, whether it's through some of our, Axon products and things like that. But otherwise, we're looking good.
So I guess any surplus that does happen, at the end of it's around $500,000, does go back to the town.
Understood, yeah.
Helps
Fine.
contribute to any surplus.
I find it a lot easier to say we have a 6.1, or I'd love to go to a $5.9 million budget. It'd be so much easier to say, but anyway.
Okay. Thank you, Chief. And just, I guess, briefly, 2026 budget.
So 2026, there was no questions from council for the budget. So just waiting to see final approval from the town on the budget, but I don't anticipate for us any issues. And I wanted to look for some direction on the board because I've kind of looked at for our budget, obviously for looking at staffing, getting them to full-time so that because I've already decreased our part-time budget line to go ahead and do that at least so that we can, we're not taking the cost out of the part-time budget line because I went down significantly from last year to keep it under budget as best I can with the lines that we could go down. I dropped it as low as I could go to get us for 2026 at the 3% increase, which when I looked across the province, we were actually the lowest in the province for our, besides Thunder Bay, I believe was 1%, but we were the lowest in increase for policing budget-wise this year.
And so the budget's coming to council on the 26th. So budget for approval.
Sorry, does the budget already contemplate those part-time positions moving to full-time?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. Everything was included. Yeah.
So again, it'll be at council the 26th and probably subject to approval that evening. Okay.
You just want to wait till council approves in February before we could go ahead, or should I go ahead and at least bump those positions up to?
Yeah, I guess what's the sense of, do you want to provide the chief with discretion and move ahead?
I think we have that discretion, I think.
I don't expect any major pushback at council. We've gone through the first draft. And
Do we-
again, the council's position is always to either accept or reject.
Do we need a motion for that or no?
I would say yes.
Yeah, I would say so. Yep.
I'll move it.
Andrew, second by Rob. Okay.
All in favor?
In favor?
Thank you.
Okay, new business. The building cost insurance inspection. So that goes to Rob, I believe.
Just looking at the inspection, it's actually not bad considering the building. One thing I found interesting on it is they want sheeting on a tower
I know,
That's inside a
yes.
locked compound that may need to be accessed for repair, but that's,
What do they want, sheeting so they can't be climbed?
it can't be climbed within
Well,
But sheeting how high though?
8 feet.
Oh, yeah, so.
Which is really irrelevant to what I was getting at when I first wanted to bring this up. One thing I found interesting, if you look at budgetary lines, and we're talking about getting things under control, $318,000, give or take, is attributed to our budget for a town building. I just always wanted clarity as to why the building is in our budget. I understand hydro costs and things along that line, but there's $121,000 on principal payments, which I believe could be a loan on that building. That's a town building that I'm just not sure, is there a lease? Should there be a lease? How does it work between the different entities within the town? That this has always been showing up within our budget. So when these recommendations do come forth, are they a responsibility then of your budget to repair, or is that the town to repair? Just some clarity on, I wasn't sure on where that goes. I know we've talked for many years as to why the building in itself in its entirety is in our budget and not in part and parcel of the town's budget. Because are all the other buildings in the different sectors'
In the different
budgets?
Yeah,
Parks and Rec, for
Yeah.
example, is the arena in the
Yeah.
Parks and Rec?
Well,
budget?
yes.
And they're
Yeah.
Yeah.
Water,
Right.
wastewater.
I
fire
had,
in the fire.
yeah, I had
always
asked that
part of
question.
this.
Um,
Just clarity on why it's showing up. Listen, operationally, I understand that, but it's the other parts of the building that, how's it working out that it's showing up on our bottom line, per se? I guess that was my question when I first wanted to
Yeah.
discuss.
That's an accounting
The
item,
building.
I think, more than a board item, isn't it? Like a,
Yeah,
I
I've
don't
asked
know.
that question of the director. So there is a manager that looks after all the buildings in town. So we have this year, finally, because it used to be kind of on the chief to kind of look after a building too, which, to kind of look for plumbers and look for electricians. And so we did sit together, and now with the, having the manager who looks after the buildings, having him deal with that has been a good help for us, because one plumber that goes from town to town buildings, or one electrician that he can have there. But I did ask that question, why it couldn't be on a town budget as far as the complex maintenance, for example, or property maintenance. And I don't really get an answer, because everyone seems to have the individual budgets. And so it's
a flow through to the town budget anyway, when just going through.
It is.
Yeah.
It's the same.
And that's interesting, 300 some thousand. When we compare that to other police forces, are they using, like, when I look at Gananoque, for example, that's got a $3.4 million budget, is their building included or is it not? That's because there's 10% of your budget right there.
And part of the act of the previous is that the force is to be supplied with a building.
100.
Yeah.
So that's somewhere different.
Yeah.
It's just a catch that really.
Now, yeah. So for example, I know that part of their building in Brockville and Gananoque, I know Brockville's looking at a new facility too. But again, that comes to council, and the same thing that happened with us back when this building was retrofitted. But it's made it seamless better having this manager, but then again, he's overworked because he's looking after all these buildings that have issues, including ours. And so, to get somebody in there on a regular basis can be challenging, and to find plumbers, believe it or not, that want to do some of the work has been challenging too to find. So, but I did ask that. I asked why, like, for example, the major part, the complex maintenance or roof repair, for example, that it's in our budget line in the capital line. Why that's not part of a town capital, but I didn't really get an answer.
Yeah.
So that's just
Our firm at one time owned 7 OPP detachments, so I kind of have a different perspective for how that actually. We still own one. We sold off the other 6, but it's kind of an interesting. And compared to what we pay, compared to what the OPP pays, we are paying substantially less, quite frankly. But that's because we as taxpayers are building ourselves, regardless of what pot it comes from. So
Yeah, I guess from the town's perspective, the library is part of the library budget. the water treatment plant, wastewater treatment plant are part of the water and wastewater budgets. And they read
That's the way it is. It
So
was
it's
just
just
clarity.
how,
Yeah.
yeah. that's
Yeah.
how it's
Yeah.
applied, yeah. Even though the library certainly is governed by an independent board as well.
The Smith Falls Police detachment or station has a very complex mechanical system, too complex that when it was built or when we renovated it, I don't know how many years ago, it's very complex with individual zones for heating and stuff. That would be an ongoing maintenance nightmare. And when you're obviously seeing it
Yeah.
now,
And the plumbing too, how it was originally done.
100%.
Plumbing kind of goes up, then down, then turn angles. Like we just had another backlog in the men's change room. Sewage spilled all over the men's change room across into the ident room. And our staff are cleaning it up because it's not like they have cleaners and they have one cleaner for the town. And that's another thing too. They're short on cleaning staff.
Who cleans the
So we have a budget for cleaning, but it comes from Parks and Rec. They're cleaners who clean other buildings, also clean ours. Yeah, it's a lot.
So I just had a quick question
Yeah.
with respect to the building. We've got two principals and two interests for borrowing. What is the delineation of that? It's on page 2 of your draft budget, under building.
121 and 2876.
Which one, sorry?
So
Which line?
You have two principals, so if you look at the top, you have principal, and then just before the bottom, you have a principal again. So there's two, and then interest cost for borrowing.
Yeah, so the town is the one that calculates that. So Paul Dauber will take the calculation of the interest from borrowing for the retrofit of the police station and calculate it into our budget.
There's two lines for each is all, Joe.
Yeah.
That's all. There's two principals and two interest borrowing lines within the budget, top and bottom.
I wonder why.
Yeah.
Was there renovations or something that's a fairly small one at the bottom, like it's only $4,000 total.
Yeah, I can't recall if it was one finance, one loan or two loans at a time.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, there might have, yeah. I can circle back on that for you. And like the administration interest, the 939.
It's the top two lines and the bottom
Yeah.
two lines within that section.
Yeah, perhaps get clarity on that and bring it back next.
Yep.
Or you just email her via some
Yeah, I
understanding
can do
there.
that.
Okay, anything further on the insurance side?
Were you given a heads up they were coming?
Pardon?
Were you given a heads up that the inspector was coming?
No, we weren't.
Oh,
No,
wow.
no, I asked the town
Fourth, right?
Yeah,
director.
especially a police station.
Yeah, they just do that.
There they just show up and they're.
Oh, they gave a date that they were coming, so we had somebody available to tour
Yeah,
with
that's
them,
not
but
wrong.
the town wasn't aware that they were doing the inspections.
You were.
No, not until they said they were coming on whatever date, yeah. We just didn't know what they're, to be honest, it wasn't too bad for us. It was the tower, it was putting a sign
Lighting
at
above
the
some doors.
emergency exit sign and then some electrical on the outside. So it's about $1,800 worth of work that we had to do for the
Pretty good for
insurance company.
the town building that size for video.
I don't know about the rest of the town.
They try to find things for sure.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, thank you. Moving on, grant update, Chief.
So since the last update, we were successful with the RIDE program grant. I asked for more funding for the 4 years. Actually, it goes till 2029. So each year, we're going to get $11,377 to support our RIDE program. So that's usually about 11 or 12 ride programs that we'll do through the year. We don't just focus on festive rides. We'll do rides during events that we'll see that are important events in town and ensuring compliance. The deputy will touch on it in his operational report, but we're definitely seeing an increase in impaired drivers. And so ride programs aren't just going to be during the winter festive months. We'll do it all year through, and that funding will support officers' salaries, overtime salary for that ride program. NG 911 year 4, we were approved for $156,894. So that will go towards our training and our consultants for IT support to get it up and running by 2027. That's the understanding that it'll be in place. And then the membership funding for the Criminal Intelligence Service of Ontario CSO grant, proceeds of crime grant just came out yesterday. So we're going to be applying for that as well. So knock on wood, we've been successful with all the grants that we've been able to apply for this year and into 2026, 2027, and 2029. So
Excellent.
yeah.
Any questions? Good stuff. Strategic plan, Chief. Yeah.
So yesterday I actually had a conversation with the professor from the business class in Queen's University. So I mentioned to the board chair, and I think I mentioned it last meeting, that the students, 4-year students, had reached out to speak to me about our strategic plan. And while in conversation, they were doing it for Gananoque, I asked them about improvements to our strat plan to reflect the new act and where we're going in our vision for the future of this police service. And they were certainly brought it back to their professor who was interested in doing that with us. So I had a conversation with him yesterday. And again, it's up to the board to decide where you would like to go with it, but he's willing to start in May. So they have a project going on now in January, but they're willing to start in May to, they'll first interview myself and the board chair as to our vision going forward with the service. And then they look after everything. They look after all the surveys, the consultations. They're obviously very savvy with social media, but also coming to town and doing them in person and taking that time to work on behalf of the board to get us a really good strategic plan that'll carry us for a few years further. There is a fee to it. The professor estimates it's anywhere between $500 and $5,500 for the students to do it. They charge about $30 an hour. But if you look at consultants across the province who do strat plans, that it's a lot more than $5,500. So it would be out of the board's consultant per budget line, but it sounds like it would be a very positive thing to have for our services going forward with that new strat plan, and having students would be engaged and taking the time to do it a good plan for the service. So
Excellent.
I think they've done Gananoque, Brockville, like they've done services across that are close to them, and they're not far, obviously. So
We need to put a motion forward for that?
Yeah, we would, because we're going to have to disperse the funds, and it's a contract, I assume. So
yeah,
I
there'd
think
be a
it's
contract. He's
great
going to touch.
opportunity.
Yeah, sorry to interrupt. He's going to touch base in April. He says that they'll start in May. They'll be done by July. So it'll be.
That's really quick.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, Andrew.
I move to do that.
Okay. Second by Chris. All in favor? Of course. Great. I think we're looking forward to
We've got
that.
the room.
Obviously, they would do public consultation. They would serve in
Absolutely,
membership. They would-
everything. Yeah, they'll go into seniors' homes and bring paper copies where people, aren't mobile or maybe don't even have the internet. They'll make different options for the public.
In the meantime, do you mind forwarding either Brockville or Gananoque, one they've done already, so we have an idea to see what it?
Yeah, I'm not sure if Gananoque's is completed. I
Okay.
checked online yesterday because when they interviewed me, that was in December. So they would just be wrapping that up probably
Okay.
end of this year. So I don't think, I'll speak to the chief and see if I can get a copy of his when it gets released to the public. But I just looked yesterday and they still had their 2024. It's not due, or their strat plan, sorry. But I'll touch base with him today and see if we can get our hands on a copy of it.
Excellent.
Absolutely, yeah.
Super, thank you. Moving forward, taxi licenses, Chief.
So this came to my attention through our supervisor who deals with a lot of the taxi licenses by law and also has to deal with background checks, and one's called Learn. So it's all part and parcel with part of the line increasing some of our fees. And one of the things, obviously, that you look for is how do we put money back into our budget line when we're putting a lot out. And so we did a little bit of I had to do a broad search to see what other services are increasing prices. So for broad criminal record checks, we have Sudbury, Peterborough, Sault Ste. Marie, Timmins, and York. So several agencies have requested these broad criminal checks, but nothing's been posted yet because they still need board approval as well as us. But we're currently only charging $40 fee for a service. What it has to do with, it's called a background check. So CAS, for example, asks for a very extensive background check on parents, or whether they're going through court processes or whether it's custody cases. But those are quite extensive and takes her a long time to get those because they have to go through all RMS reports, have to look at all it's much more than just running somebody on a criminal record check. So we're just looking for board's approval to increase that fee from $40 to perhaps even $70 to cover at least some of the costs that we get for those that come through the CAS, for example.
Sorry. So this is taxi license.
Yeah, okay, so.
Yeah, so there's a fee, you're looking, sort of two things overlapped here, I think.
Oh, yes, I'm sorry. Taxi licenses, we're looking to increase the taxi license fees as well. And that's another thing that I wanted to bring forward to council is looking at other ride sharing options. So this bylaw is pretty antiquated, and I know that I did a lot of changes when I first, I think a couple of years ago, Carrie probably remembers, with the town bylaw. But it's a pretty antiquated bylaw system. It doesn't include or recognize other ride sharing like Uber or whatever. So I'm not even sure if that's something that should be brought to council to kind of look at changing of that bylaw. And I don't even know who, if it would come from the police, because we look after taxi licenses or licensing. But I know it's a conversation that we've had for years about changes to the town bylaw, but we don't make those changes. But I just wondered what the board's position would be on upping the fee of our taxi licenses. So I think her fee, I think she was just looking at, I've lost the paper now for the taxi licensing fee.
Let's see.
So I'm just going through the bylaw to see if it's in the bylaw.
I've got a,
Is the fee in the bylaw?
Yeah.
yeah, I've got a copy of the bylaw. I apologize, I thought the fee was here. I probably have it somewhere in the folder. But what happens is that we look after the licensing and we look after approving their, because we can search their driving records and we can, if we deal with driving complaints of taxi drivers, we can then look at their licensing and either cancel, suspend them. We've had a couple of complaints and we've dealt with it pretty swiftly. And I think I told you before, I had a taxi blow by me on Highway 29. I was in our work car, but it was the plane car. And he passed me and 3 other vehicles. So I pulled him over in town and I took his license. He had a fare, an elderly person in the front seat of his car, and he was probably going 30 kilometers over the speed limit. So I'm okay with us reviewing the licensing because we have the ability to check and search driver's license, making sure they're not suspended. And but it is a bit antiquated when it comes to other services. So
It's got to be fair. If we're not charging Uber or anybody else like that, then we can't increase that. Sorry, go ahead.
Chris, I don't know if you can
So
ask-
the bylaw specifically sets it out, so we can't adjust that. We'd have to make a recommendation to council.
Exactly. Yeah, so so the sense here,
Yeah.
so Chief, if you believe that, one, it's, the fees are outdated and there's the amount of work involved.
Yes.
We want to make sure we need to increase the fee to at least have full cost recovery.
Yes, that's correct.
Then we make, maybe a recommendation a request from the board
to council to approve an amendment or to amend.
To
the
review
bylaw.
and amend the bylaw to,
Look at Uber and other rideshare programs
Yeah.
also.
Okay.
and I guess I understand there is at least one Uber driver in town now, I think, as well, so. it's time
Okay.
to-
So sorry, I found it here. So we currently charge $40 for a record check portion and $30 to do a full driver's license check. It's about $100 for each car, $200 for an annual broker's license, and the fees have not changed for years. So her suggestion would be just to increase the driver's taxi license portion from $30 to $50 and increase the cars and broker's license.
Sorry, I'm looking at the bylaw right now, and it actually says the taxi cab driver is $70 in the bylaw.
Yeah, so it's not even like
Oh,
it needs to be updated,
Okay,
this
so,
taxi bylaw.
what? Is that us just increasing our fees then? Because it doesn't sound like it needs council's motion for that.
no, okay,
Or
but
council.
it's town bylaw, the council will have to make the decision on it. So if I can make a suggestion that the board give the chief discretion, direction to review the current fees and to interact with the clerk, I guess, to request council review the bylaw, the elements that you want to see reviewed and changed possibly, and a new fee structure.
So we need a motion for that?
Yeah. Moved by Andrew, second by Rob. All in favor? Okay, thank you.
It's already there, they should just pass it.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay,
And they have to look at the whole bylaw, not just.
So then, Jody, you were beginning to
Yes.
speak about the cost for CAS searches.
Yeah,
so that's the
sorry,
next
that's
section really is,
one. Yeah,
next one, increase in fingerprinting, criminal record checks, so the same thing. That's at our discretion. The
Correct.
fees there,
Yeah.
it should be increased.
How long are the staff actually spending on these things? I guess it depends. Some are going to take longer, some are going to take less.
we have some cases that she's going through years of, if police are dealing with a family for years and years, going through all the reports and vetting what she has to vet. So it is quite extensive now, what they have to do for this background check for CAS or CAS's lawyers.
Who actually pays this fee then?
They do.
The
They pay it.
individual?
Yeah.
Or the CAS lawyers?
That's right. They do, like the CAS or the ministry pays for that. Or,
Oh, okay.
Yeah, or the lawyers pay, yeah. So they get billed, but for example, we're only charging $40 for it, and other services are charging up to $100 for it. But some services are still in the wings waiting on board approval to up their fees. And that
If it's not the individual, I'd have no problem going to $100 if it's the actual province or something.
company, yeah.
Yeah, but if it's an individual, I would leave it the way it is, but so I just need clarity there.
Yeah, this is to do with the more broader checks. We raised our fees last year for criminal record checks, and I assume with the board, you still are okay with us, for the volunteers, it's free. If they come in person, if they go on through, trying to take out a fee, I believe, but we've not charged a fee, and unless you
Agreed.
want us to start charging a fee, we haven't been charging a fee for volunteers, so.
So do you have a recommendation as to what the fee should be
I would say $80. I would double our fee to
for
80
the criminal record checks, 80?
for the broad record checks. But the criminal record checks, we can still, you're saying the individual, like some people are asking for a criminal record check for employment. We
No,
raised
sorry,
it
I was
last-
talking CAS.
Yeah, the broad,
Yeah.
I'd say $80, and
$80
that
for-
would be the only increase that we would do for now.
And fingerprinting?
Fingerprinting, we can keep the same. We increased it a bit last year. But
So
the broad ones are the ones that she really focused on because it takes up a lot of time to do. And $40 was really not enough.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I guess a recommended motion that, how we define, is that the
Just say
extensive? or the-
broad
broad
criminal record checks,
checks.
because the regular ones, we are keeping the same fee. It would be the more in-depth background, broad criminal record checks. We'll know what it's about. It's she went to a conference. It was called the Learn Conference for these, because this is kind of new for services to be needing to do these more broad checks, and it is quite time consuming.
Okay. So is there, I want to move a motion that,
Yeah, I'll move a motion to charge it up to $80 for, yeah,
broad,
the broad,
Broad, yeah.
yes.
And maintain the volunteers at nothing. For
Stay,
Yeah,
yeah,
So it
stay
doesn't
free.
stay status
And
quo.
everything is still stay
Yep.
status quo, yeah.
seconder for that?
Perfect.
Andrew, all in favor? Okay, Carrie, thank you.
Okay.
Okay, we have in our agenda package correspondence from LaSalle PSB, also some other municipalities which have endorsed the LaSalle PSB communication or request. Essentially, the gist of it is the OPP police municipalities have received additional funding in 2025 to help cover the increased cost of OPP policing, as well as a cap on any increase in OPP costing for 2026. And LaSalle, the municipal police service, has made the statement that the municipal police services have not received the same type of funding. And to request that the minister acknowledge the inequity created by the 2024 and 2025 funding interventions, provide that the ministry provide equivalent financial relief to municipal police communities facing similar budget pressures, and that the ministry work with municipalities and police boards to develop a fair, transparent, and sustainable provincial funding framework that applies equally to all police services in Ontario. And LaSalle remains committed to responsible budgeting, as we are. So essentially, that's the 3 points that LaSalle is requesting, that other municipalities have also endorsed.
That's correct. And there, I just sent you one from the OACP as well that have requested the minister to answer to this as well. Sarnia, Hanover, there's other municipalities that have,
River,
Deep River, they have taken on this request to the ministry to answer why there is a provincial 11% cap that's given. So for example, OPP Municipal Police Services, they don't know what their bill is going to be year to year. And a lot of them are well over the 11%, some are 22%, as you've seen. And for them, it's not sustainable, the same as any municipality. However, the provincial government has allowed a cap to each OPP municipal service of 11% and is supporting those municipal police services. So we're asking as chiefs to and the boards to answer why municipal communities are not provided with the same assistance for the percentage. Now, I mean, there are a lot of services that have gone 11%. We did last year. And certainly one of the explanations that the Solicitor General had provided before was that there were grant opportunities that we would be included with, but OPP would not be, but that's not the case. OPP still have the same grant opportunities and are provided funding. And grants are not part of your budget. We all know that. You can't rely on grant opportunities for funding. So that's just the question that municipalities are starting to ask. So I just wanted to bring it to the board's attention as a police service board to bring it to council at the next council meeting to endorse this letter to go to the ministry on behalf of the town of Smith Falls.
Okay, someone want to move that motion? That yes, moved by Rob, second by Andrew. All in favor? I guess that'll be advanced to councils for consideration for a matching resolution. Okay. MVC report, Chief.
So we had an MVC with one of the cruisers. One of our officers was responding to a call and had backed into a hydro pole from a driveway that was kind of in a strange area on Victoria Avenue. The damage was about $3,000. It's been repaired. It came out of our vehicle repair because our deductible is $10,000. the accident was reviewed by the deputy chief of police. So it was an accident. He didn't see the pole, and we've dealt with it internally with the cost and through our budget line. But our deductible is $10,000, so it's was a dent to the rear back of the door.
Any questions? No. Thank you for the update on that. Into the operational report. Chief Cattle.
Morning, thank you. We have 2 months to get through, so missed the last meeting there, so we're gonna go through November's first.
I got you.
Load it up. Oh, nice.
Only for you, Chief.
Yeah, I appreciate it. So, as we always do, we, go ahead. We talked with calls for service for November. We registered 538 total occurrences, which was down from 614 in October. Quickly, overall charges and arrests, we had 54 criminal charges laid in November, stemming from 26 arrests that were made. Breach-related charges, you can see here, overall, we had a total of 10 laid. So that accumulated 13% of the 54 total, of all the criminal charges that were laid. Our noteworthy occurrences, intimate partner violent cases were at 15, should say up from 13 in October. Assaults, we were at 4. Family disputes, 3. 7 bail violation calls, 4 break and enter calls, 7 mischief, and 12 harassment.
Deputy, do you mind?
Yes.
Maybe explain a little bit more what a harassment charge could involve.
Harassment could just be kind of unwanted phone calls, unwanted communication, pestering, maybe, let's say in an apartment situation, maybe your upstairs tenant is pounding on the floor constantly and harassing the downstairs tenant, just trying to basically, just things of that nature. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Mental health calls for November, we had 29. We had 1 apprehension, and you'll see in the hospital wait times, 1 at 4.5 hours, 1 at 5.5. And I realize it says 1 apprehension, but one of those, we had a voluntary person go in as well that we stayed with, so that's why you'll see the 2 times. And one of those, I'm not sure which one it was, 4.5 or 5.5, but there was 1 actual apprehension on the Mental Health Act, 1 was just a voluntary that we assisted with, so that's the reason for that. And then the MCERT nurse attended at 12 of those 29 calls with us. Proactive policing for November, we logged 16 hours of foot patrol. We had 29 hours of school visits. Our officers continue to do a great job almost on a daily basis of making sure they engage with our schools, some multiple in a shift, whatever. We really do make an effort to try to get around to every single school throughout the week. So, community service, 26 hours, and obviously I always have bike patrol on there, but no bike patrol given the time of year. For our traffic enforcement for November, we had 25 collisions in total. 6 were on private property, 16 were on the highway, and we had 3 failed to remain accidents. And of all those incidents, there were 11 charges laid as a result. Traffic-related calls for service total, we had 106. That could just be a parking infraction or somebody speeding or just people calling in general traffic complaints. So that's a fairly significant number for quite a few calls. We had 69 vehicle stops, proactive vehicle stops from our officers, and enforcement that resulted from those was 42 Highway Traffic Act charges laid on 49 of those 69 registered stops. And charges obviously as normal, stop signs, speeding infractions, drive under suspension, careless driving, generally what we see month to month. And there were 12 charges laid under the Compulsory Automobile Insurance Act. For criminal and alcohol drug charges, by way of proactive traffic stops, there was 8 criminal charges total. We had 2 for careless storage of a firearm, operation while impaired and exceed 80 milligrams of alcohol, operation of motor vehicle while prohibited, care and control of motor vehicle with liquor readily available, and a novice driver with a blood alcohol level above 0. The strategic enforcement traffic priority for November was intersection-related offenses, and in total there were 5 charges that were laid in direct response to that initiative. I talked about our impaired driving charges as they're trending in the upwards, in the sense that I don't think that it's becoming, and I've said this before, I don't think it's a fact that it's more of a problem all of a sudden. I just think we're better equipped now to actually enforce that and conduct these proactive stops and stuff. So we were at, in November, we were at 27 breath tests for the year, and compared from that time last year, for 8 total last year. So quite a bit more enforcement and paying attention more to the impaired drivers that are out there. So they're doing a great job with that. The step target for December is impaired driving and alcohol and drug-related offenses. And our top traffic enforcers, we always like to acknowledge for November, were Constables Boutier, Sly, and Hart. So we certainly appreciate their extra efforts in traffic enforcement. Reports from our different branches, our criminal investigation branch. Obviously, we still have an officer that's embedded with the OPP criminal investigations branch in response to the ongoing Bertram investigation. As we know, it's the Thompson homicide has been solved, and the investigation is still ongoing, and we're very much active in participating and assisting with those, as there appears to be some overlap with those investigations. So we're very much have a footprint involved in all those investigations. Also, the Dagenet homicide from Jasper was also solved in November with an arrest of an accused, and our officers, our criminal investigation branch, and some of our other officers have been involved in assisting with that as well. So very much embedded in those situations. Glad to see the getting resolved and moving forward. They continue to deal with the $5 million fraud from a local business. That investigation is ongoing. Obviously, those investigations are lengthy and take multiple search warrants, production orders, and everything to start putting those together, but that's still very much active and being worked on. We have several sexual assault investigations that are ongoing. Some are concluding and some are at the forefront, but they're being looked into. There's a child pornography investigation ongoing, as well as a child abuse investigation. These obviously ones take a little bit more time and a little bit more detailed and stuff than maybe some of the average calls, so they may be a little bit while to resolve. But they are being actively looked into. And we had 2 arrested for a trespass by night after an investigation by our crime unit. There's also a historical Inuit partner violent case that was brought forward, and after some lengthy investigation and some good groundwork, there was 10 charges laid in response to that. So I want to just talk about this next one. I won't read it, but our crime unit was actively involved in a local fraud, and just to kind of show you that there are no geographical boundaries really to crime. During their investigation, they were able to identify a suspect who was defrauding a local company through email and bank fraud, and through some groundwork and some sharing of information, it actually played in nicely to an investigation that Calgary had ongoing for the same person. And you can read it at your leisure there, but our information was pivotal. They were able to absorb our information and our charges and everything, kind of package it all up, and it resulted in the arrest of the female suspect for conducting similar frauds out in Calgary. So it just goes to show you that we're not landlocked by any stretch, and these, as frauds and cryptocurrency things, scams and that nature, come on board, our kind of area expands as far as you just never know, right? So the officers did a great job actually integrating and collaborating with the Calgary, and it came to a successful conclusion. So really good there. I just wanted to point that out and attach the article just so you can read it at your leisure. Courses and workshops are always ongoing, as you know, and you can see there we've sent Andrew Simmons to the facilitating and assessing police learning as he moves into kind of assisting with their training role on our training cadre. Sergeant Pellet successfully completed the forensic identification research exam that they have to take. Brock Woods took the patrol carbine instructor course. Ashley Castle and Kayla McDowell took the CPIC terminal operator course during November. A report from our community service officer, Constable Sean Keogan. As always, numerous school visits, completed presentations at Chimo, Duncan J. Scholar, and St. Francis schools. He's prepped for the anti-bullying week presentations, polar plunge preparations, which is always very successful. Takes a lot of planning, and Sean's always on the forefront of that for us, helping out. He's always involved in Crime Stoppers. He attended 2 situation tables and 2 Filter 4 meetings with various support groups around town, and represented us on those. I got the Letter to Santa program started in November, ongoing anyways, and obviously that was a tremendous success, as it always is. Involved in media relations, he was on the radio 3 times with Bob Perot for various topics, and you can see assisted shift coverage for the front line for 3 shifts during November, and assisted with prisoner transport duties when needed. And the last one's just the criminal records checks. We spoke about that. We just like to keep you appraised on some of the numbers there. So. Any questions for November?
Just one, did we ever acknowledge like the exemplary work that some of these folks do? You take the one with Calgary and things like that. Are they acknowledged internally at all?
Yes, they are. Yeah, quite often the chief's been very good at too, as well as I, and some of the sergeants doing up internal, mom attaboy, rata girl type of thing, messages and put in their folder, and they're often brought up again during their yearly review and added and stuff. So it is captured. Yes. Yeah.
So there is some reward, I guess, for exemplary work.
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. Especially in cases like that are very impactful. Absolutely. December. Sorry, any other questions for November before I move on? December, 505 occurrences, which is down from 538 in November. Our criminal charges obviously were significantly higher, with 110 criminal charges in December. Less calls for service, but some more complex investigations kind of came to fruition and created a large number of criminal charges. 31 arrests were made in December. For breach-related charges in December, you can see we had a total of 40 for various breaches, and out of the 110, that represents about a 36% portion of those overall charges. Noteworthy calls, intimate partner violence, we had 10 assaults, 10 family disputes, 12 bail violation, 3 break and enter, 1 mischiefs, 8, and harassment, 8. Mental health calls for December were down. We had 17, down from 29 in November. We had 1 apprehension total, no reported wait times at the hospital, and mobile crisis team attended at 5 of those calls. Our proactive policing, we had 24 hours of foot patrol logged, 14 hours of school visits, 24 hours of community service, and again, no bike patrol. For traffic enforcement and complaints for December, we had a total of 30 collisions. 12 were on private property, 18 on the highway, and we had no fail to remains. 6 charges were issued in relation to those collision investigations. We had 115 total traffic-related calls for service. There was 87 vehicle stops performed by our officers, and there was 47 Highway Traffic Act charges laid, stemming from 22 of those stops. And there were 9 charges under the Compulsory Automobile Insurance Act issued. Criminal charges stemming from proactive traffic stops, there were 8. We had a novice driver with a blood alcohol level above 0, possession of a Schedule 1 substance for the purpose of trafficking, operation while impaired and exceed 80 milligrams of alcohol, possession of identity documents, attempt to escape lawful custody, and possession of property obtained by crime under 5,000. So some very good proactive stops there, resulting in some good criminal charges. Step initiative for December was impaired driving, as I mentioned earlier in the November report. There were 3 criminal charges and 1 provincial offense notice that were issued directly related to that December step initiative. Several ride checks were conducted throughout the December festive season. There were a number of roadside tests conducted by the officers to ensure sobriety on the road. Impaired driving charges are 29 for the year. And the step target for January will be distracted driving offenses. And our top traffic enforcers in December were Constable Sly, Hart, and Boutier. For a criminal investigation report, again, I talked about the being embedded with the Bertram file still. Just made a note with the Thompson homicide. The ground search has been suspended, obviously due to weather right now, but the investigation is still very much active, and the investigative team's following up on investigative tasks and interviews and things like that. But the actual ground search has been suspended. One of our crime officers, Detective LeMay, who's also wears another hat with IDENT, completed the basic bloodstain pattern recognition course on Ontario Police College. It's fairly not an easy course by any stretch of the imagination. She successfully completed that, so we have her with that skill set available to us as well, so, which mends nicely with her work in IDENT. We've already covered off on the fraud, still ongoing, and our officers are busy too with ongoing intelligence gathering related to drug trafficking activities around various locations in town that we hope to concentrate on in 2026 and have some enforcement in that regard. Courses and workshops, sent someone on the domestic violence investigator course. Constable Simmons went on the conducted energy weapon instructor course. And of course, as I mentioned, with Detective LeMay taking the basic blood spatter recognition course. These are the quarterly reports for showing the entire year, including the totals. Already talked about our calls for service total being 7,745 for the year. We had 1,294 proactive vehicle stops conducted throughout the year. We logged 281 hours of foot patrol, 106 hours of bike patrol, 242 hours of school visits, and about 457 hours of attending various community events and supporting different things ongoing. And I mean, as we all know, Smith Falls was a great summer as well for festivals and things of that nature, which was great for the town. And obviously that, increased our workload a little bit too, but it was all, for the betterment of Smith Falls too. We were glad to participate. So that's why we have a fairly significant amount of hours that are logged to community events. For Mental Health Act calls, the quarterly reports here as well for the year. I'll just run through the totals for 2025. We did 307 mental health related calls. We had 34 apprehensions. Our MCERT nurse attended with us at 110 of those calls. And you can see the wait times ranged anywhere on some of those calls from 5 minutes to up to 6 hours. Unfortunately, I don't see any way of that really changing. It's just we all know that our hospitals are taxed as well too and busy. So the last one here I wanted to talk about was assault police charges. I know I've talked about this and gave some examples over some previous reports. I just kind of wanted to give the board a snapshot of where we are. I began tracking this information in March this year. We'll continue to, because I was noticing that our officers seem to be engaging in getting assaulted and stuff at higher rate than, and obviously I as a deputy wanted to see, and I'm sure anybody else. But I just wanted to point out that these officers are out there doing some very difficult work in some very challenging times. You can see the numbers for yourselves. There's a number of actual assault police occurrences, as well as resist and obstruct. Part of that, I think, is just time where we are in times right now. People are struggling. We're dealing with a lot of mental health and drug-related calls for service. I also attribute a lot of this to the benefit of us being so close and being able to get to calls very quickly and be able to, fortunate, unfortunate, we can get there quickly, but we're also engaging in these calls at probably the most heated moments where there's no delay and stuff. And so our officers are kind of getting thrust into these dynamic situations very quickly, and maybe, play some role in why they're getting assaulted or finding these resists. But I do want to say, as the operational deputy, couldn't be more proud of the work that our folks are doing out there. We're young, we're keen, we're better bolstered this year than we were last year, and we really are proud of the work our folks are doing and coming back into an environment that isn't always friendly and inviting and everything, but they're really out there trying to do their best and be professional and stuff, and at the peril of sometimes getting assaulted and getting into skirmishes themselves. So I just wanted to recognize that with the board, that they're out there doing some great work.
That's quite disturbing. In the 10 months that we tracked, we had 20 assaulted a police officer. That's
Absolutely.
very disturbing.
Absolutely, and I said before, and I mentioned again, I don't think sometimes we think, well, that's maybe the part of the job, but it really isn't part of the job. I mean, nobody comes to our office in the day and says, I really want to get into it with somebody today. Like we work so hard at de-escalation and trying to work ourselves through these situations, but sometimes when you're just thrust into things, like I said, at their apex, these things happen. So when you look at the numbers as a totality, it is disturbing. So, and I just thought it was noteworthy to point those out. So the board's aware anyways of what's going on out there. So,
Thank you.
yeah. Just quick, the criminal records check, sorry, those, we talked about that earlier today too. So those are the final numbers for the year. And then the last photo there, or there's a couple of photos I want to just acknowledge. We met the new recruits today. That was the chief and I. We had the pleasure of going down December 17th to the Dev Center in Cornwall and being part of their March Past and graduation. So pretty proud moment for us and for them. And it was just a great day. So we're certainly lucky to have them on our force to bolster us. And then, as always our pleasure to send a bunch of our members to the 2025 Special Olympics Christmas party and dance. We had a great time. It was really, really well attended. The Legion was great to host it, and it was absolutely packed. And it was just a really, really fun event. So just another example of how we engage, day to day with our community and stuff. And on a more lighter note. So,
We finish.
yes.
Thank you.
Any questions?
Well
Thank
done
you.
to your staff, man.
Very
That's
good. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
All we have left is our scheduling of the next meeting. Which is Tuesday morning, so I say February 10th would be just over
Yep.
a month from now. That work for everyone?
It is close to Valentine's Day, but I think I can make it.
I'll make sure it's on the 14th, right? Everyone's, Share, that works for you?
That's lovely for me. Eh?
Okay, February 10th, 8 a.m.
You just send her an email, maybe.
Yeah, exactly.
Fire a truck.
I still love you, honey.
Just fire a truck.
Okay, motion for adjournment. Moved by Andrew, second by Chris, all in favor? We are adjourned. Thank you, everyone.